Hi guys, Ron here. I'm walking to the beach, so forgive my formal attire. But it's hot and it's humid and it's almost October, but that's Los Angeles for you, even at the beach. So I'm gonna walk and talk. I've done a lot of Manson sites before, and this particular video, as we walk to the beach, I'll talk. Hopefully there's not too much noise. We won't be too distracted by other people and noise and dogs, but I'm going to talk about, and actually where we're ending up near Venice Beach is where the second night of the murders, the La Bianca murders, which people frequently, for some reason, don't talk about that much, too bright. Manson actually went down to Venice Beach and left Susan Atkins. Linda Kasabian had known a guy down in Venice Beach and lived in an apartment there, and she talked her way out of murdering him, said he wasn't home, said she was at the wrong apartment. And Susan Atkins, and I think Clem Grogan was with them too, and they bought it, so they didn't have to go there. Anyway, so let's talk about it, because I mainly want your thoughts. Sun is just coming out now. I mainly want your thoughts on what you think really happened. A lot has changed, so we'll walk and talk. There's the Venice canals. Can't really see them. Can we see them? They dump out into the ocean. Anyway, so basically, as I've said in other videos, I started getting into the Manson murders in the early 80s when I was just a little kid. Somehow I had a friend who got me into it or talked about it. And then, because of that, I got into the White Album. I listened to the songs on the White Album that Manson said were speaking to him directly about Helter Skelter, the upcoming race war. And then that got me into the Beatles. And I'm a fan to this day of both. I shouldn't say a fan. Fan of the Beatles, definitely. But my thoughts have changed on the Manson murders. All this time, I really, there's, in the last several years, we all know that there's been books written, documentaries, questioning the official narrative of Vince Bugliosi. And the more I read about Vince Bugliosi, and I think we've all read some stuff about him, I think some of the things might have been questionable. He even admitted some things might have, quote, gotten past him. So let's talk about it. The whole Terry Melcher connection, the whole Dennis Wilson thing. Dennis Wilson, who said he knew the truth and he would reveal it or he would never reveal it, and obviously he died at age 39 and never revealed it. So, I always bought into what the book and the subsequent TV movie Helter Skelter told us, that Manson told his followers, now is the time for Helter Skelter, immediately after the Gary Hinman murder, which was over drugs, and said, we've got to, I guess a minor motive was to create the suspicion of a copycat killer to free Bobby Beausoleil, who had just been arrested, literally, I believe, the day before for the Gary Hinman murder. And, but most of it was supposedly Charlie telling Tex Watson, go up to this house. I think some movie stars live there, and kill whoever's there and leave signs on the wall, blame it on the Black Panthers, and hopefully this will ignite Helter Skelter, the race war, from which we will emerge victorious. Well, it all goes back to early. There are things I missed. What did I miss? Manson. Well, let's go back. Tex Watson was involved in a drug deal. Tex Watson was only really, the more I study, he was really only nominally part of the family. I think he had a pretty good relationship, if we can call it that, going on with Leslie Van Houten within the family. But I think Tex was doing his own deals and kind of on his own trip, as he said, for the most part. I read his book, decades ago, called Will You Die For Me? And we all know, or if you're studying the case, about the tapes that it looks like no one will hear. He was arrested. He had fled to Texas when he heard mistakenly that the cops were on to them. So he had fled to Texas, and was picked up there by his cousin of all people, the sheriff, Bill Boyd. And without a lawyer present, he spoke for hours and hours and hours on tape. LA Sheriff's Department, I believe, now has those tapes but won't release them. The speculation is they speak of other murders, and that's why Tex Watson doesn't want anybody to hear about it. But if there were other murders, why doesn't LAPD investigate them, or Death Valley, or wherever they were? So, let's hold here a second. I don't want to freak these people out. Tex Watson was involved in a drug deal with a guy named Lots of Papa. Lots of Papa was his real name. Is oh my gosh, that's evading me. Oh, I know his name, Bernard Crowe. Young, I believe Bernard Crowe was 30 years old at the time. Now, something went awry, and I believe Tex Watson called Charlie Manson at the ranch. Charlie Manson went down there and actually shot Bernard Crowe, thinking he had killed him. In his mind, I guess, to rescue Tex Watson. Well, Bernard Crowe survived. Manson didn't know that for a while. But Bernard Crowe, well, Charles Manson believed that Bernard Crowe, Lots of Papa, was a Black Panther. Pretty much high up in the Black Panthers. So after, which he was not. Manson was mistaken. So after that, Manson's paranoia about the Black Panthers invading the ranch was on super high. In fact, if a black family came to ride horses at the ranch, to rent horses and ride, they'd have their lookouts. Manson would have his lookouts posted and on extra duty alert. All this was in his mind. However, after that, things continued to go badly. Gary Hinman, I believe, had sold some drugs, I believe it was mescaline, to the family, which in turn the family sold to members of the Straight Satan motorcycle gang. Straight Satans came back the next day, were really sick. And of course, from bad dope, apparently. So they wanted, Manson sent Gary Hinman up Manson sent Bobby Beausoleil and a couple of the girls up to, including Susan Atkins, up to Gary Hinman's house in Topanga Canyon, which I've also filmed. And Hinman was trying to get money. He had heard that Beausoleil had heard that Hinman had come into some money through an inheritance, and they wanted the money to pay back or, satisfy the bikers who had got sick off the bad dope. So Hinman said, "I don't have anything, but you can have my cars." So Manson came in at some point, called by Hinman, and sliced Gary Hinman's ear. And they actually tried to sew it up with dental floss. Now after that, Hinman was in contact with Manson. He doesn't have any, he's not giving us any money. He's offering the car. What do I do? Manson said, "You know what to do." And Beausoleil killed him. He hid the murder weapon, the knife, in the spare tire, wire wheel of the spare tire, which you put in the trunk. I can't go to my regular spot here. And he was caught easily driving Hinman's stolen car in, I believe, north of Los Angeles. So at this point, here's where things deviate for me. And Beausoleil was arrested, and the next day or so were the tape murders. Here's where things go awry for me. Manson himself, when interviewed, said that it was part of the old convict ploy. He wanted to get something on people. He became very paranoid, apparently, of the family itself. His paranoia was growing, not just about the Black Panthers, which weren't after them in the first place, but his paranoia about members of the family being disloyal to him, or ratting him out, was growing. So Manson has said that after one of the reasons he did it, and after the Bernard Crowe shooting, he was reminding Tex Watson, I got something on you. I got something in you, and I did it for you to save your life, and now you owe me. And then the same thing happened with him, he being Manson, and Bobby Beausoleil. I got something on you. You took care of Hinman. That's what I told you to do, but I got something on you. Now, of course, Beausoleil was immediately arrested. And Beausoleil has become, over the years, very embittered about this. Beausoleil also says all of this in interviews, that Manson wanted to get something on some of the members of his family, especially the one that he considered threats or may become disloyal. And I believe now that firmly that's why Manson chose Tex Watson, who he had made feel like, he had made Tex feel like he was indebted to Manson for saving him when the Bernard Crowe situation. He said, this is what I want you to do. Go up to this house, bring these girls with you, and have them do whatever they tell you tell them to do. I firmly believe now that he being Manson might have told Tex Watson to tell the girls that this was mainly about Helter Skelter, but I believe this was more, he being Manson needed Tex to go out and do something that he could hold over Tex, and hold over those girls for that matter, in case somebody started to rat him out. The jailhouse scheme of always having something over your opponent. So, was there more to it? Oh, absolutely. I mean, even Bugliosi himself said he didn't think that Helter Skelter might have been the entire motive, but nobody ever asked him, so if that wasn't the motive, what was it? Did they know any of the people? Now, none of the girls have come out, even to this date, the date of this filming, and no one has come out in the family and said there was an alternate motive, or they had known the people, but maybe they'd be implicating themselves in something else if they admitted that. I mean, were they doing drug deals up at the house? Were they involved in orgies up at the house? The house, I mean, the Cielo Drive house. There are a lot of mysteries in this case. William Garretson faded into obscurity. The caretaker would claim to not hear anything and wasn't touched. And Steve Parent, what was Steve Parent really doing there late on a Saturday night? Selling a clock radio? There was something going on maybe with him as well. So, not nefarious necessarily, but weird things were going on that night. There's, rumors that Jay Sebring was a big-time drug dealer as well as owner of the famous salons, and Wojciech Frykowski was apparently getting into drug dealing as well. Sharon Tate did not like Frykowski. A lot going on, but mainly I'd like to know your opinion, guys, on what happened. Was Manson simply trying to get something on Beausoleil and Tex Watson and some of the girls that he could hold over them should they rat him out about the Bernard Crowe, what he thought at that time was the Bernard Crowe killing, that he had killed Bernard Crowe? Was that what it was all about? So nobody could rat him out over, implicate him in the Lhasa Papa killing? Well, Bernard Crowe survived. But Manson didn't know. He thought he'd killed somebody, and he thought a lot of people in the family knew about it. Was it other killings you think that Manson was getting implicating the family members on so they would, not rat him out? Or was it more complicated? I think it was that and more complicated, and I think the Helter Skelter motive played over only a minor part in all this. And nobody ever talks about the LaBiancas. So there's all kinds of rumors, conspiracies, which I won't bring up. But why was that house chosen? I mean, they had partied next door to a guy named Harold True who lived next door, who was not on good terms with Manson. Why didn't they go to Harold True's house and kill him next door? Why'd they go to the house next door where they apparently didn't know anybody? I mean, Manson had been up, and I believe Tex had been up to the Cielo Drive house before, knew the layout, primarily because of when Terry Melcher lived there. You know, Candace Bergen has not spoken to this day about what happened, what really happened. Terry Melcher, till his dying day, always disassociated from himself from it. Greg Jacobson, Dennis Wilson. So let me know what you think, guys, because I really don't think this is as clear-cut as I used to think. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, nice to see you. Now we're on Venice Beach. If we look that direction, well, Marina Del Rey, Venice Beach. That direction is Venice Beach, and that's where there might have been a night of killing had it not ended at the La Bianca residence. Okay, Ron here. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm really looking forward to the comments on this one. I mainly did this one for the comments. Interested in seeing your guys' perspective. And yeah, please give me likes and subscribe and all that if you haven't already done it. And I will talk to you guys at the next location. Thank you very much. And the sun is out. It's another beautiful day at the beach. Bye-bye.